A lot of movies did really well.
I'm ambitious, I'm a hustler. I have my own lane.
That's the thing about comedy. You wake up every day, you don't know if you're funny that day.
Real quick, I do a segment called Against the Law. And what we do is bring in a legal expert and we talk about some things in the headlines, and we put everything you know about the legal system and put it up against the law, the real law. So we have an expert talking, truths and whatnot. So there was a headline today. Hold on, let me find his make sure I got his name. Where? Oh, here we go. Bing bang. All right. So the headline today, we'll just get right into it. I don't know if you've been paying attention. There was a settlement announced today in the Breonna Taylor situation, and I got questions. So to get answers, man, we're gonna go to Philly and hear from our very own resident civil rights attorney, Mr. Kevin Mincy. Welcome to the program. Let's go live.
What's up, man? I heard you paying honorariums. You holding out?
Yeah. Well, we got to get it first. That's the whole thing. I got to beg and plead, and then once we get up to a certain level, then we can tap into it. You know what I'm saying?
My six.
Yeah.
Cash.
Now, look, I was on Roland Martin show for 4 years. Never got paid one dime. True story. I didn't know how TV works. I came on there and did a segment, jokey joke, ha, 3 minutes. I'm in the green room and talking to I'd say who it was. It was Glenn Ivey. I don't know if you're familiar with him. At the time he was a PG County State's attorney.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, I'm networking. I'm new, right? I'm networking. I'm like, hey man, it's good to see you. I see you on the news and all this. And he's like, how you like it here? And I'm like, it's fun, man. I get crack jokes. Da, da, da. He said, man, I just like the check. I was stuck. I've been doing it for like 1.5 years, and I was like, oh, y'all get paid? Had no clue.
Crazy, man. Funny, man. But you my people, so it's all good.
TV. Oh no, we're gonna get to a point where we can do it. You know what I mean? But just we ain't there. We are not there. But good to have you. I know you pressed for time. Just real quick, man, just run through it. So I woke up this morning to the headline. Breonna Taylor, I guess family. There was a settlement with the city of Louisville, $12 million. Explain, give me the rundown. Talk to me like I'm a kid.
Okay, so the family is who brings the suit against on behalf of someone who's passed away. So once somebody dies, the only person who can sue is the estate of that person. Typically, it's a family member who's the administrator of the estate. They hire the lawyer, then they can bring suit on behalf of the family. So a few months ago, federal court for violations, constitutional violations, wrongful death, and really, I'm pretty sure that's the only thing that they had to file in court. A lot of times when you're in these types of situations, the city will know that they have liability, and they will approach the plaintiff's lawyer and be like, hey, look, can we just sit down and see if there's some things that we have some common understandings on. A lot of times, because police unions have such power that cities can't all the time enact police reform, like make it codified, right? Make it the rule without some type of, I call it a shield. So in this instance, when they have a lawsuit like this, and then the plaintiff says, well, yeah, you're gonna compensate me financially, but I also want to see significant police reform. If you have a city official who is looking to make reform, they can kind of ride that shield into battle and force the police department to make these reforms because it's been, quote unquote, ordered by the court. And I think it's what we saw here with Breonna Taylor's family, where they said that the police reforms were non-negotiable. So no matter how much money they threw at them, unless we had a chance to talk about significant police reform, they weren't going to be willing to listen. And just from the reports, it looks like they achieved some of that with rules regarding ambulances being required to be on standby when they serve search warrants, and requiring the police officers now to live in the city, for a year before being police officers. And there were some other reforms that I saw quickly as I looked at it that, we'll see if they're able to give them any teeth. But it looks like it's a positive first step in Louisville.
Now, to that point, who would be the architect of that? Would that be the attorney? That would be Ben Crump?
So yeah, a lot of times it's the lawyers, civil rights lawyers. We do these cases all the time, so we can kind of take ideas from other cases that we're dealing with as far as like what reforms may be needed. And yeah, it's the lawyer's job to push the envelope to see what you can get the municipality to agree to.
Mm.
And so I'm sure that many of the reforms that they pushed for were probably outside the scope of the things that happened to Breonna Taylor, as far as a no-knock warrant or whatever. But you do what you can, and when you're in a settlement situation, to try and force as much as you can through the hole.
Now I said Crump, but what was it? Crump? Is it? Is he the? Oh, okay, all right.
So Crump is, I guess, the name that everybody knows. But whenever Ben or any lawyer, when you're working out of your jurisdiction, you're going to be working with local counsel. So I believe that he had a local attorney, maybe a family attorney, already in place, and so that's probably how Ben got the case. They knew Ben and reached out to Ben to bring him in to bring light to the case.
Now, is it common for the reform piece to actually be realized? Is that common, or is it just because of the current climate?
Well, it's definitely the climate is helps now. I think a lot of times in the past you would see more pushback from municipalities about, does your case warrant significant police reform or an overhaul in police reform? And so a lot of times in these types of cases, you'll see that the case remains open even after the dollar amount has been agreed upon. Almost like they call it like a consent decree in federal court, where the judge can monitor the advancements in the implementation of the reforms. And so they might say in the initial draft of the settlement agreement, we want to have X, Y, and Z reform in place by January 1, 2021. And then they have these kind of status conferences to check and see, are they implementing the things that they said they are? Are they living up to the agreement? And if they don't, then you can reopen the consent decree and then negotiate whether it's penalties or more reforms or whatever. There are just a couple of different ways you can make it happen.
So on some levels, it is enforceable.
Yeah, I think it just depends on how the lawyer works it. I can't imagine that they would just take the word of the officer,
right,
the word of the municipality, without having some type of court backing behind their agreement.
Now, are there suggestions or requirements?
Well, these are typically, if it's negotiated and signed in a court order, then it's a requirement, and that's why you want to file the lawsuit, get it in front of a judge, get a judge to sign off on an order saying this case has been settled and these are the things that have been agreed to. Then once that becomes an order from the court, now the police union or whoever is opposed to these changes, they don't have any legs to stand on because the municipality is being forced to do it.
We're talking with civil rights attorney Kevin Mincy out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, regarding the Breonna Taylor family settlement with the city of Louisville. Where did that $12 million figure come from? And why wasn't one of the requirements that the officers be arrested?
Well, the arresting and prosecution of the police officers is outside the jurisdiction of the municipality. So the Kentucky Attorney General, Cameron, is in charge of making the decision of if they're going to prosecute. And I believe that case is actually going before a grand jury now. So ultimately, it'll be the decision of a grand jury is whether or not to indict. That's my understanding. And so you can't necessarily negotiate that into a civil agreement. The standards are different as far as in civil court and criminal court.
Okay, true.
And then I'm sorry, what was the first part of that question?
The first question: where did they get the $12 million figure?
So that's definitely a moving target type of thing, and so it usually requires the hiring of experts. A lot of times you'll hire an economic expert to say, look, this person was 25 years old. They likely would have lived until they're maybe 70 or 75, at the amount of money that they're making at the time of 25, adjusting for inflation and all that stuff. Like there's literally an expert that you hire we call it, lawyers call it almost like value of life. And so you can have folks who don't make any money, right, or making minimum wage. I have a case right now where a kid who died in his 30s was making minimum wage, and we're going to try and assess the value, quote unquote, of his life. And so, but even in that, just say a guy was going to live 30 years making minimum wage, that's about $640,000 or $650,000 over the course of 30 or 35 years. So there are a lot of different things that go into it. Obviously, some of that is punitive damages, right? So
okay.
Want to be able to set a number that's going to dissuade any other police officers from acting in this way in the future, make them think about it before the next time they want to open fire into some walls and some closed doors. And so, when you combine all of that, the value, the quote unquote value of somebody's life, the conduct of the police department, and then however much more that you can push the municipality to put on the table in order to make the case go away for them quickly. That's how you can get to a number like 12 million, which my understanding is the highest amount ever paid out for the death of a black woman who's been shot by police. So,
wow. I mean, it's so many it's so many things going through my head right now that are so inappropriate. Just hearing your breakdown, like the fact that there's an actual price point for the value of your life is crazy.
yeah.
And the fact that there's an equation and summations and estimations. Like, you don't know what kind of job I was about to get 2 years from now.
True.
Like, you don't know if I was hit the lottery 4 years out.
Well, here's the thing. Like, there are definitely, they have to do that because there are persuasive lawyers who sing to a jury and make a jury feel like, man, Lamont King was about to make $50 million next year. We had to give this man $50 million. And so when you're trying to, justice is about the scales, right? And trying to balance things and make things quote unquote fair. And so you have to, when you're asking for damages, economic damages, you have to at least show some proof that, okay, he was on a track to make that type of money. Let's look at his past income, his career trajectory, what his education was, and where that might have taken him.
But here's the horrible truth to that. In that split second, a hate-filled individual could really do that math in their head and be like, I could tell this one ain't worth shit, and it's not gonna cost us much. Like, I really feel like they had an ability to do that processing in real time.
Well, here's the real issue, and it's a double-edged sword. I mean, that money's not coming out of those police officers' pockets. Right. And so people will say, oh, well, the taxpayers are footing the bill for their conduct, and, that's not fair either. But on the flip side of that, if it's your family member that has something like this happen to them, you don't want to be dependent on some police officer who's been making $80,000 a year to now have to pay out this $10 million judgment. It becomes a paper judgment that means really nothing. And so you want to be able to compensate the victims' families. But you don't want to say, oh, well, it's just the responsibility of the police officer, because then really nobody gets anything. It's a tough thing that, a lot of governments have to deal with, but it's just the truth of the matter.
So Coach Ken in the peanut gallery, he's saying, well, if the police union was paying, to your point, if the police union was paying, police reform would probably happen immediately. Do you agree with that?
Well, the police union doesn't pay the officers. And so, the reason why the municipality has to pay for it, because that's their employee.
It could change.
What do you mean? As far as, could police officers start working for unions exclusively? It's about who the employer is.
No, but okay. I was thinking, well, we set it up so that, that money comes out of, their pension plan, the union, and all of that. We just rearrange it. It could be done if they wanted to do it.
I guess it's probably above my pay grade as far as trying to figure out how to do it. Like, me as a plaintiff's lawyer, I'm trying to find the deepest pocket to take care of my family.
Right.
So I'm not worried about in the end, does that cop really think? Hopefully he's going to think about it. And these cops' names have been bandied about, and I'm sure it's going to be tough for them to just live knowing that people know their names like that. But
or not,
depending on where you live and how people feel about these things. But I'm happy for the family for sure to at least get some measure of justice. And it doesn't eliminate the fact or the possibility of those officers being charged by a grand jury and prosecuted. But it didn't make any sense for the municipality to continue to pretend like they're going to defend the case. They might as well just pay the money now, right? Because they're going to pay the $12 million up front, or they're going to pay a law firm $2 or $3 million to defend it, just for them to tell them at the end, hey, you need to give these people $12 million.
Yeah, right. Okay.
$3, $4, $5 million by just settling now.
Now, Mr. Clarkson, earlier today, I saw a post where he asked a tough question, like 12 million, that figure, that dollar amount. Most of us couldn't relate to it. Would that be enough? Would that bring you justice? Would that satisfy you? And I really, you don't even have to answer that. But I feel like most people, as painful as this situation was, I think most people do have a price point that they can point to and identify.
Well, I think there are a lot of things that go into it when they make that decision to settle. I mean, it's just as painful for the families to have to testify. And it's not just testifying one time in trial, but maybe you're deposed 2 different times or 3 different times, and then you have to go to trial. And every time you're reliving it, and it's painful for those people who are victims to have to relive it every time. And so, yeah, I think that when they start looking at the numbers and like, well, maybe a jury might give you 1 million more, or 2 million more, or 3 million less. It's like you could go through all that pain and get less money than they're offering you. And so when you're talking about the numbers that they were talking about, I'm sure your eyes and your head start spinning when you start thinking about $12 million, even after you pay the lawyer and the taxes and all that stuff. It's still a substantial sum of money. But a lot of it is just them having to avoid the pain of having to publicly talk multiple times about what happened to their loved one.
Yeah. I feel like, you would want to take that stance of I need justice, and I won't sleep until they're in jail, and you can pay me zero long as they're in jail. I don't know, not to judge, but I know it's probably like split down the middle. That's half and half.
Well, it's out of their hands. The jail thing is out of their hands.
No, I'm just talking about just the individual mentally, when we think about what would you do in that scenario?
Right.
Like, are you, if that verdict or decision came down, are you fine with that? Are you taking it, going about your business and moving on with your life? Or are you still pressing the issue and fighting it out tooth and nail? That's the question. What would you do? And not you or I, but just people. Like, I think that would be split down the middle. And I think most people wouldn't admit that the money would be enough.
Yeah. Look, I've been in some of these conversations with clients, and it's definitely it's a painful, even a deliberation process. It's like, am I saying that my family member's life was only worth X amount of dollars, and
right,
explaining to them like that's not what you're saying, but and that can't stop them from feeling that way. So,
right.
Me as the lawyer, my job is to kind of divorce myself from the emotion and kind of give them process and counseling. And then I let them deal with their emotions, and I don't tell them like not to talk about them or stomp them down, but they've got to be able to deal with their emotions and live with the decision that they're going to make.
All right. I know I got to let you go soon. Is just outside looking in, you're a civil rights attorney. Was this done well?
I think so. Obviously, you set a record as far as for a settlement number. So you can't argue about the number, and not being on the inside of the negotiations of the reforms. I guess we'll only time will tell as far as whether the reforms have teeth and whether they're really be able to achieve enforcement. But as far as the financial part of it, I think it's a tremendous victory for the family to get it done so quickly, so that they don't have to worry about. Look, they're still they're hoping that they have the opportunity in criminal court about what these did, but to know that they don't worry about a fight with the municipality that they live in, I think it's a win for the family.
All right, there it is. Sounds good. Civil rights attorney Kevin Mincy, ladies and gentlemen, he's on the clock as we speak. Before you run, you got any funny courtroom situations that's happened since the last time?
I haven't been in a courtroom, man.
Okay.
I think I yelled and screamed at a prosecutor a couple weeks ago. I think I told you about that.
Man. Yeah.
I haven't really been in a courtroom since then, man. COVID is still real up here, so I'm about to. I got to talk to a family of a shooting victim after I finish talking to you today, and look like we're going to start working on defense on that case, man. But other than that, man, it's been work and golf, man. What's your golf swing looking like?
So I was out today at the range. I was working on keeping my left foot planted, so it's getting there.
There are people that say you don't have to keep your left foot planted, man. There's a lot of schools of thought on that. We can talk about it offline. I don't want.
Oh, damn it!
I want to bore the rest of your viewers, man.
I spent like an hour and a half keeping the left foot planted.
Not a bad thing. I'm just saying that you don't have to do it that way.
Okay. Well, I'm still working my way through fundamentals, so then I can do all the remixing and all that shit later.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I appreciate you, Jack.
John Watson gonna hit the course one day. I'm gonna take y'all money.
Okay, I'm with it. Hey, I'm with it. All right, I'll holler at you.
Okay, bro. Later.
All right, there it is, folks. Against the law, civil rights attorney Kevin Mincy. Hey, Crump setting records out here, man. He just got $600 million for the city of Flint, residents of Flint. Then and that was a record. Then he just broke, like, I don't know if 600 million, did that beat the tobacco payout? Man, Crump is the dude right now, man. Now 12 million for the family of Breonna Taylor. Whether you call it justice or not, it's happening. But it was a record for the most awarded to the family of a black female murdered by the police. I believe that's the correct phrasing. That's what happened. Crump setting records, man. It's getting to a point. Crump, like he's everywhere. I see him too much, but at the same time, I ain't gonna lie. I'll say it so that you don't have to. If some shit happens, you know, with me and mine, I'm calling him. I'm probably calling him. As much trash I talk about seeing him too much, he's at the top of a very short list. So, shout out to Ben Crump. It's unfortunate that he's reached this level of fame because of the things he has to do. So that's the unfortunate part. Let's address that. But besides that, the harsh truth, something went down with you and yours. Hey man, you calling him. You calling him. You fake like you won't. But you can call him. You can call Kevin Mincy too. You know, because he spit that gift. You can call Kevin Mincy too. So I ain't taking away. I'm just saying, Crump, high profile. Us, me, you, and y'all, we got to get Kevin Mincy on the level. That's unfortunate. I got to phrase that a little different. We got to get him on the level of Ben Crump. But not, that's tough. That's a tough one. Because I'm like, yeah, we need to get more people, you know, in a position where they need Kevin Mincy. Nah, it's not like that. I'm just saying, Kev good at what he do. Crump get, all right, moving on.
I don't care if it is a